right, hello and welcome to our info session on building your research profile while following a DBA. Thank you for your interest in the DBA program at Grenoble École de Management, and it's an honor to meet with you today and share the experiences from our DBA candidates on how they are leveraging their DBA. So a quick look at our agenda. We will introduce ourselves, and then we'll just spend 5 minutes diving into our topic on building your research profile while following a DBA. Then we'll have the pleasure of having our DBA students present their experience. Then I'll briefly tell you about the DBA program from Grenoble École de Management, and we'll get to the best part, and that is our Q&A section. So we ask that you please enter all of your questions into the chat, and we will get to them at the end of our webinar. If we're unable to fully answer your question, or if you have a question that's a little bit more personal or personal research projects, please feel free to reach out to us and we'll be happy to schedule a call. So I am Ginny Hinderscheit, and I am the head of marketing for the DBA and the MBA. And I will let our academic directors introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dima Lewis. I'm the academic director of the DBA France program, but I'm also a DBA graduate myself. So I've been through this journey as a student a few years ago, and welcome to this session.
Okay, and I'm Marielle de Jong, academic director of the US cohorts, and I'm at GEM a professor in finance. I did my doctoral degree at a later stage as well, so I can also affiliate with the experience of doing a DBA.
Thank you. And our DBA candidates. Karina?
Hi, everyone. I'm Karina. I'm part of the 2022 intake. So I'm the latest addition from the three of us. I work in technology. I've worked for companies like Microsoft and Meta, and right now I'm focusing on my DBA and on some side projects. I've just defended the first stage of my DBA thesis, so right now I'm recently a doctoral candidate, and I'm working on women in technology and specifically focusing on why they leave.
And I'll jump in next. I'm Naida Kulshaw. I'm a DBA 2021 intake, and I'm also a lecturer at Grenoble École de Management, and I am hoping to, or am continuing to bring in everything that I'm learning into the classroom, into the course development, and also into program development. And I can explain that a little bit more later.
All right, and Soad might be joining us after a bit. I think she's got a little bit delayed. So Soad Luisi will also, from her 2021 intake, will also be joining us in a minute. Okay, let's just spend a second to dive into our topic, building your research profile while following a DBA. So the first step is where most of you will kind of identify with, and that is identifying your research interests. So the first step in doing a DBA is to reflect on the topics that interest you and are aligned with your career goals. Then to stay informed, keep up to date with the latest research in your field, read academic journals, follow key scholars in your area of interest. And then we recommend starting with building your network. So network with other researchers, practitioners, and industry professionals through academic events, social media like LinkedIn, and related professional organizations. And start by taking advantage of research resources. So access to databases, research software, opportunities for conferences or research grants. Then as your DBA progresses, we recommend that you attend events, participate in research workshops, seminars, conferences relevant to your field, look for opportunities to learn about cutting-edge research methodologies, network with other researchers, and present your own work. Research projects, so we'll have a few examples of this. Collaborate with other researchers or industry partners on related joint research projects. And my favorite, produce thought leadership. So Karina is very good at this. Write, share, and comment on LinkedIn. Write articles on Substack. Give press interviews. Start to establish yourself early as somebody who has something important to say about your topic. And collaborate with faculty right from the beginning. So engage with your DBA program faculty members, discuss your research interests with them, seek their guidance. They'll love giving you advice. So, seek guidance on potential research topics or collaborations. Then publish papers. So aim to publish your research findings in peer review academic journals. Work closely with your supervisor to develop high quality research papers based on your dissertation, and present at conferences. So presenting your research at academic conferences also allows you to receive feedback from your peers, experts in your field, gain visibility, and establish connections with other researchers. And teach. Many of you are interested in a DBA because you've taught in the past, you've liked teaching, you're exploring teaching part-time perhaps. You start to become an expert by actually teaching your topic. And finally, be patient. A doctorate is a marathon and not a sprint. It requires dedication, patience, persistence, and ready sometimes to face criticism and setbacks. So you need to have faith in your growth and development and stay committed to your research goals. And with that, I would like to invite our two DBA our DBA academic advisors to join us and to maybe give a few examples of how our DBA students and candidates are able to leverage their DBA and start to become active researchers.
Yeah, thank you, Jenny. So I will not talk much because we want to give the space to our DBA students to share their experiences, but I would add a few things to what Jeannie said. So it's important when you're doing a DBA is to show that you're actually gaining and building new skills as a researcher. So you're a practitioner, but at the same time, you're gaining research skills. So you want to show that you're actually developing those research skills. So this is one thing that you can communicate about as you're building your research profile, but also about the topic of your research. So you're gaining expertise in a specific topic. You want really to highlight this. So these are two different areas that you can really focus on as you communicate and you build your research profile. Ginny mentioned identifying your different audiences, and what's really important is to think about how you can adapt your communication to these different audiences. So I encourage you to look up some of our DBA students or alumni. If you can do a research on LinkedIn, you'll see plenty of examples of how you can create maybe short videos giving updates on your research and so on. And it's important to think about how you socialize your research. So we are social people, we socialize with other people, but when we talk about research, we also have the concept of socializing your research. So you need to think of your research as an entity that you're going to take and let people meet your research and learn about your research and understand your research. So how you can socialize your research, whether online or in person, in conferences. We cannot give you generic examples because you will need to identify the specific practitioner conferences that are related to your topic or the specific academic conferences. Marielle?
Okay, thank you. I'll be short also because I'm also eager to hear our students speak. We are proud of our students. And indeed, well, doing a DBA is a journey of getting out of your comfort zone and getting in contact with people that you would not have been in contact with without it. And indeed, through research, we connect in different ways to people. And this is also building a profile that you're having different conversations, really. And going to conferences is really a big step into that. We each year send out students to the EdPAC conference, which has a day dedicated to DBA students to give them the floor. This year will be in Henley-upon-Thames. And that's what we really try to make our students get involved in, really to go to make new networks, build new networks, and indeed, as Dima says, connect and profile your research. But okay, I'm going to leave the floor.
All right, thank you. And with that, we will introduce our DBA candidates. So, Karina?
Yes, thank you. So as I've mentioned, I'm the most recent student out of the three of us. I've been only studying in the DBA program for 1.5 years, which in absolute terms might seem like a long time, but in DBA terms, it means that I'm just at the beginning of collecting my data and analyzing. So I don't necessarily have the findings yet. I have gut feelings, I have intuitions, but my results are not in yet. And the thing is, you can still start building your research profile even when you're still at the beginning. And I'll give you 3 different examples which came about through totally different opportunities. So the first one was in May 2023. I was very much at the beginning. I was still building my literature review. I'm studying, as I was saying, women in technology. I met with a friend of mine from university who works at Salesforce. I was talking to her about what I was studying, and then a few months later, she wrote to me saying, "Hey, Salesforce is having a sort of group workshop with the ERGs, so that's enterprise resource groups from different tech companies. Do you want to come and work with us?" And it was a totally random experience, which came about just because I started talking about my research. So one thing that I encourage you to do if you're trying to build your research profile is spread the word. Tell people what you're researching. Tell them why you're excited, why it's nice, how you will impact your field. Get them interested. And I think a lot of opportunities can come about in this way. And you also learn how to talk about your topic as well. It also leads you to think, and you meet a lot of people who are interested in the same type of topics. The second opportunity was with GEM. So GEM had a research colloquium in 2023 where DBA students and DBA candidates from different years and even alumni came together to discuss their research. It was a great way, first of all, to talk about my research, to have a first, it's not really a defense, but it's, a first exercise of talking in front of researchers, of gaining feedback, and of sharing thoughts, getting people to tell you what they think so that you can reflect afterwards on what you're doing and how to go about it. So this was a totally different type of exercise, but it's still a way to let people know, even if it's they're your future research community. So it's a good way to let them know what you're working on and what you're doing. And now a third opportunity was, Jean was talking before about the fact that I write on LinkedIn about, organizational behavior topics. I write about management topics, about women in technology. It's a heavy lift, right? And if people, people, you're probably thinking, what will my network think that I'm starting to speak about topics that are not necessarily related directly to my work? Well, the thing is, I actually got a lot of positive feedback related to what I was writing. And the one opportunity that came about was that I was invited. So I met um, a lady, a woman who was building a platform, an education, AI and tech education platform specifically designed for women working in tech. And she asked me to build a course for her around diversity and inclusion, which is what I'm doing now. And this just came, about as an opportunity because I was talking about what I was doing. So if I could give you an advice on building your research profile, even when you're at the beginning, is spread the word. Tell people why it's important. Tell them why you're excited and why they should get excited about your work. Thank you.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Karina. And next, Nida.
Great, thank you. So I'm just going to do the swap here and then just see if that goes. All right, so I'm hoping that as I start clicking, it's going to start working. So how am I going to encapsulate the journey and the marathon journey that it has been thus far? I am in the last of the 3 years, so at this stage, data has been collected, and now I'm writing my findings, and I'm talking about what does it all mean, and what am I going to try to do with that? So that's the stage where I am now, and I thought, well, how am I going to be able to, in a very short moment, explain how I got here? So I have some images here of which I'm going to start to refer to as I start speaking. The first kind of journey piece is what I call the spark. So in 2020, I started to notice certain things in the air, and this might be an article that I read, a radio podcast or something, and I started to what I call connect the dots, and it felt like, there's this topic that's really bugging me and I want to talk about it. And so that was the spark. But I didn't really know what to do with it. Then I will always blame one particular lecturer, professor at the university who said, maybe you should do a DBA. And I thought, maybe I should. So I decided to apply. And then the next stage was, right, I'm in. And then I said, right, but it actually officially starts at the end of the year. So what I'm going to do between now and then is be a sponge. I started gathering information, I collected as much as I could, and I started connecting. What did that mean? So you'll see Catalyzing Change Week 2021. That was a week of very interesting speakers. I actually met some very interesting people because they were resonating on the topic I was curious about, and I'll explain that when I get a little bit longer. Then the Systems View of Life was an online course that I took, which just made me go. And every single time I had the course, I thought, no, I'm not going to learn anything new. And at the end, I'm like, what? So it was really an eye-opening, but also helped me connect my ideas. And this blue little image that you see here was a research paper. And that research paper was on relational systems thinking by Melanie Goodchild. And that opened up an avenue of curiosity. And I said, I'm really interested in Indigenous knowing and being, but I, at the time, really felt like, but I'm not officially someone I can do that. Can I talk about that? And so I started to really get into community conversations. And so between 21 and 22, I would call it was the zigzag mode. So I got a lot of sponging. I talked to a lot of people. I was part of a lot of online workshops. But then I started to question, am I getting too big? Should it be smaller? Maybe it should be more business because I'm not really thinking business. And so am I going in the right direction? Finding sounding boards or people to be able to exchange with you was really, really an important step for me. So that's something that I would highly encourage. It's like not just network, but it's also who can you speak to when you're really kind of not sure if this is a direction you should keep going and doing. They're your cheerleaders and also the ones who bring you back down from the panic. Also, I was able to get insider or cultural knowledge. Again, my topic is on Indigenous being and knowing and the way of worldview, how that might influence or impact not only governance design in an organization, but also individual choices. And so I wanted to know more. So I began to make connections asking, is there someone who's First Nation individual, or someone who's an Aboriginal member of community, or someone who's a Maori? And I had a wonderful opportunity to speak to several elders and multiple communities around the world, just to be able to understand, am I going in the right direction? Am I asking the right questions? And how can I approach this? I've listed Four Arrows and Vidya, who were two really important people in my journey. And so part of an Indigenous methodology is always to remember your community and to give them credit as you move along. So this is also what I'm doing in this presentation. And then in 2022, I would call it, I got wind and wings. And it was like, all of a sudden, I sort of started to take off. I was on a webinar. I was talking passionately about my topic. And then I got this private message that said, hey, you should really apply for the Fetzer Scholarship. And I was like, the what? And so then I applied. I got it. And I was able to go to Seattle at the time for the Academy of Management, which is a huge conference. And here I expanded my network more. I was able to connect with MSR, which is one of the multiple communities that it has, which is the Management and Spirituality and Religion, as well as the Indigenous Caucus, which meant that I was meeting academic elders. And those were Indigenous academics who've been doing this for a very long time, who were also guideposts and who continue and still continue to be people I can email and say, hey, do you mind if we can have a call? So that research design and data partnering part, this all came from the community. And I just want to point back to the pictures. The picture on the far left is Regen Nation. The picture in the middle is the Woven Way, and the picture just on the right in the middle row is the Cafe Around the World. Every single one of those made a connection to potential data collectors and also helped me frame my design. So I definitely want to give them kudos and thank yous for that. And then 2023, Sensing and Leaning In, and I'll move very quickly, I'm almost finished, is the workshopping ideas. So taking it and sharing your ideas. I was able to go to different conferences, but how did I do that? I built on the stuff I was already writing. Tip number 2, take the stuff you're already writing, like your stage 1, get feedback from that, turn it into a small abstract, send it into a conference, and then expand from what you're already doing. The Indigenous Entrepreneurs in East Asia is a chapter that I've co-written, and I co-wrote that with several people who came out of the Regen Nation webinar that I attended. It was a long online course. And so in the process of creating network, I created community. And that's also something that I wanted to highlight, which again, Indigenous way of thinking of research, that you're building community to bring back to community, the community nourishes you. So there is a reciprocal process. And excuse me. And then just to end, and I'm going to go to this one, which is the crafting and community, which is where I am now. And several things have spun out of that. An online learning journey that I was able to create in collaboration with a filmmaker in Brazil. I was able to submit a paper in December. It was accepted for the URAM, which is the European, what is it again? URAM? Help me, Dima.
Academy of Management.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I always get messed up with
Yeah.
that one, Academic Management. And so that was just accepted. And I'm writing on a case study with colleagues. And of course, I'm also going to go back to my Euramis, which is a Indigenous academics in management and organization. And oh, by the way, I'm also working on my dissertation. So how do I fit all of this in? I think what it is leveraging. So I have right there, mix, match, leverage. The things that you're already doing, think about how you can spin it out to something else. And so I will end here and pass it on to Soad. And now I'm going to give away control. Bye. Thank you.
Very cool, Nida. Thank you and congrats. Okay. And I'd like to introduce Soa Luisi.
Hi, I'd like to apologize for being late because I was in a meeting that didn't want to end. So I want to focus a little bit on the hard part because I can't pretend it's been easy. I'm coming from a background of like very different things. So I started off as a neuroscientist when I was still in Canada, and then I came to France and became an English teacher and did that for 20 years. And at the same time, I was also managing a company, so it wasn't anything big, but it was a training center. At one point, I had 20 employees, so it wasn't huge, but it was still something I needed to do. And I'm a mother of 3 children. I'm currently working full-time, and I was also managing my company for the first 2 years of my DBA. And through all that, it's never been hard. The DBA itself is never hard. It's never been hard for me. It's been a lot of fun, actually. And I needed that intellectual stimulation. So that was the best part of my day. Every time I would sit and take a look at my results and have to do an interview with someone, and I come out of it being like, wow, this is amazing stuff. But it was always often on the back burner. And numerous times I went through imposter syndrome. And I was like, well, can I really do this? Am I really good enough? And then even for my phase 1 dissertation, I was not going to defend. I was like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not ready. And I was kind of pushed to do it and ended up getting a very good grade. So it was like, there's this disconnect between how I see myself and how my work is actually seen in the community. And because I do have some things that just happen, it's just weird. So earlier, I missed the first part, so I'm not really sure exactly what was said, but I myself am really present on LinkedIn and on Facebook as well, but mostly LinkedIn. So I do share sort of what I'm doing and what I'm up to. And I've had people address me as doctor since last year. And I'm like, well, I'm only in 2nd year of my DBA. And they're like, Dr. Soa Luisi, can you come and do this conference? Can you come and do this seminar? And again, that really like hits you with imposter syndrome. You're like, can I really do this? And then you do it and you're like, oh my God, I could do that. That's amazing. And I don't even have the DBA yet. And I'm already doing this amazing stuff. And I'm going into yet another career. So my topic is disability inclusion in higher education. So I've got a few publications on the way. I've done a few conferences, and I'm not really sure what else I'm supposed to say, but I don't know what the next slide is actually. So I'm just kind of discovering, is there a next slide or is this it? No, there is. Okay. All right. So I've started off as a neuroscientist, like I said. So I do have like some publications from the early 2000s where it was really neuroscience topics, and then to go from quantitative and like pure science to social science, that was a bit of a change. And I was like, how do we take conversations and make that into like data? So I had to learn how to do that. And yeah, I've had the opportunity to participate in a few conferences, and I've got a couple more coming up. And I think the biggest opportunity, which just makes total sense for me, this happened in my 2nd year of the DBA, the end of the 1st year actually. I was asked to be part of a European funded research project on inclusion of people with epilepsy in organizations. And that just brought together absolutely everything that I've done in the past. So I've got like the neuroscience part is there, and then the management part is there, and part of the study is focusing on students, so that the teacher side is there, and we're building a platform to train professionals on what to do with people with epilepsy, how to better include them. So like it just brought together all of these different things that seem completely unrelated, and I'm having a blast with it. It's absolutely amazing. But it hasn't been easy. I'm not going to lie and say it's been like all fun and games. What the hardest part is just to like, you know, self-discipline, to just sit there and say, okay, stop accepting things, stop doing all this different stuff, just sit and write. So I'm in the third year like NIDA, and I have to like force myself to sit and write and stop coming up with new ideas of things to do, because sometimes I'm just like, oh my God, it would be great if I studied this thing. I'm like, no, wait a second, I have to finish this. And then just sit there and type and I love writing. It's not that I don't love it. It's just that somehow it just like the more you do of it. I mean, for me, I'm really interested in the research, so it might not be the case for everyone, but the more research I do, the more research I want to do, the more interviews I conduct, the more interviews I want to conduct. I want to learn more about people. The more I read, I want to read more. And it's like, this is the end, it's the final crunch. So I really have to put together my dissertation and submit it so that I can finish off this year. But it's not really stressful in the sense that I know that I can add another year and I can add a fifth year as well. So I love that flexibility to say, okay, well, if I don't finish it in 3 years, it's okay. I can do it in 4 years or 5 years, because it's not like I'm doing this full time. I've got, you know, a life on the side as well. So, and that's about it. I don't know if there's anything else that I should be adding to that, but that's pretty much my experience with the DBA.
That's amazing, Suad. You have a lot to be proud of, and it's wonderful to see the impact of your work already. So very exciting to follow you. So I will just go over our program very briefly, and then we will open this up to Q&A. So about the GEM DBA, we are a tailored 3-year part-time, internationally recognized doctoral program aimed at business leaders and academics who want to enhance their career by leveraging research to solve complex issues. So why the GEM DBA? You can complete this program in just 3 years from a triple accredited business school, so top-ranked AACSB, AMBA, and EQUIS. The best part is we have a strong global network of over 600 alumni and students. Our program is offered in 2 strategic locations, so in France and the US, and I'll get back to that in a second. Our format is flexible, so it's adapted to the busy lives of academics, so it's mostly followed online. We are the most experienced program in Europe. We started in 1993, so last year was our 30th anniversary. We're one of the few programs to offer supervision from day one. All of our supervisors are subject matter experts, have been publishing for at least 5 years, and have supervised before. We are a member of EdBac, so we're very active in the States, and one of the top-ranked business schools in research in France. So as I mentioned, our cohorts is comprised of, it's very international, so people come from all over the world, and it's designed for those also seeking to expand their global network. So we bring our DBA France and our DBA USA cohorts together for 2 on-campus seminars, so in Grenoble and about a year later in Paris, which allows for very excellent networking opportunities. And then our DBA USA cohort has seminar 2 in Los Angeles, while our DBA France cohort has the same seminar online. We offer regular online workshops, as well as a choice of specializations in year 3. And yes, and then you can also work with your supervisor, probably at least once a month, also online. So, and it can be completed while working full-time and remotely. So where you can learn more. So we have quite a bit of information on our website. We have regular biannual magazines called the Doctoral Knowledge Journal, which features a lot of our graduations, research publications, testimonials. We also have a blog on our website. We have videos, replays of these webinars and some testimonials. And also we encourage you to follow us on our LinkedIn page. We have a Research at GEM LinkedIn page in which we post daily different research at GEM. And if you have any questions or need help with your application, please feel free to reach out to me and schedule a call, and I can happy to answer any questions you might have. So with that, we will open this up to Q&A. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. My name is Arume Emmanuel. I'm based in Brussels. I'd wanted to know first if there is transfer, if you can transfer from another school to your school, and also what is the cost? Because I actually saw the cost online, but is there any sort of scholarship or assistance that can also help into towards the tuition? So these are my two questions for today. Sorry, I'm unable to on my camera. Sorry.
Sure, I'll start with the cost. So we're 50,000 split up over 3 years, euros. So it's split up into payments of 17, 16, and 16. And we do offer modest scholarship of 5,000 euros for early applicants. So the scholarship is profile pending. So we ask that you submit us, like I guess, a letter of interest along with your application, and that will be evaluated while you apply. So that's prioritized to applicants who apply before June. And your other question about transferring, perhaps Dima or Marielle would like to jump in on that one.
So maybe you could send us an email with more details about where you're at now. We would need to look at maybe the development of your research, the courses you've attended and so far, and then we will study your file and we'll give you specific information on whether you could transfer or not. So it's really a case-by-case scenario. We need to, if you could send us more details, we'll be able to give you a more specific answer on that.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
And to see another question coming in the chat. Otherwise, anyone's welcome to jump on the call if they'd like. Oh, we see a comment from another student says, congrats, everybody. Great to see you. Looking forward to our next semester. So very nice.
So
All right.
I guess I'll jump in if you would allow. I am from the state of Connecticut in the United States, and I have been exploring doing my PhD, and I was a little bit perplexed about, the PhD and the DBA. I have 2 master's degrees, and I'm a senior executive fellow from Harvard. And the more I try to brush the idea of my PhD or DBA, the more it kind of like settles in front of me, because I do like to teach. And so I was wondering, in terms of financing, first off, I saw through the federal government that your institution is eligible for FAFSA. I'd like to confirm that. Also, the other question that I have is, if you are interested in teaching, would the DBA be an avenue instead of the PhD? And so I'm excited to see the testimonials from the students there. So this is definitely a path that I am exploring. Being an executive in government and private sector here for many years, I like to share my insights and the skill sets throughout the years to the younger generations, and just, be able to collaborate with students, I think really warms up my heart. And so I'm really thankful for you doing this information session. Thank you.
Great, good questions. So about the FAFSA, we're eligible for Sallie Mae loans, but probably not for the federal grants. So what would be like the Stafford loans, or so I'm trying to remember what they're called, the Pell Grants. But you could apply for Sallie Mae through the FAFSA. The other question you had was the difference between the DBA and the PhD. I think, well, and our colleagues and everyone here can jump on, give their opinion as well. Because of our AACSB accreditation, quite a few people in the States will use the DBA to fast track to academia. So it kind of depends where you're at and what your goals are. If you're going to go completely into research or a hybrid career. So I think there's quite a few things to consider depending on where you're at, your age, and what your career interests are. So in the States, we do, I would say, about 30% of our students go on to academia or some sort of hybrid consulting and teaching. But I'd say the other 70% stay within industry or tackle industry-related questions. So I guess I'll let let everyone else jump on and give their feedback.
Go ahead. I'll start. So there's a fine line really between a PhD and a DBA. There's no clear cut. So it's really sort of that PhDs tend to be, candidates tend to be younger, do this after their master's, whereas DBA students, well, those that are doing a DBA with us are between 30 and 60 years old. I mean, they are senior students compared to PhDs. That's just observation, and that's practice. DBAs tend to be more applied research compared to PhDs. But then, you have counter cases. So there's no clear cut, but that's basically what we see. So yeah, I don't know if that's part of the answer.
Yeah, and I would add to that. So in terms of teaching, it depends on where you want to teach and whether you want it to be your like full-time job as a teacher or teaching in addition to your job. And what we're seeing in terms of teaching, for example, that if you want to pursue, I'm talking about, let's say, France and other European countries, maybe my colleagues would be able to know more about the States, is that actually business schools now are more interested in people with a DBA rather than with a PhD because of this practitioner experience, the applied aspect of the research. So the DBA profile is getting more and more attractive to pursue a career in business schools. But if you want to teach in a public university, let's say in France, you would need a PhD, not a DBA. So you need to ask yourself these questions. And in some cases, the DBA would be much better than a PhD. In others, especially if you want to pursue a career as a teacher/researcher, then a PhD maybe might be a better fit. I don't know if this answers your question.
Yes, it did. Thank you so much for those answers. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, if you do,
It is important to see the accreditations and publications. Publications coming out from research ranks and accreditations of the universities, I think, is also really important when you get your degree.
And one thing I would just add, because I had that back and forth reflection, is that I chose the DB. Many of the people that I had spoken to who are based in the US, that's my former home, is that the use of the DBA was very, very helpful if you're someone who's had a lot of experience, because you were able to get straight into applying it and not really trying to theorize it specifically. And so it also then gave a much more faster track to connecting it to both research community, but also practitioners who are interested in bringing it into the classroom, like executive ed or other levels that many universities in the States are highly active. And then the last is the type of research lab that I also noticed that in the US, there's a lot of this, which is this hybridization between the academic world and the business world. And DBA students also found themselves in that space as well. So it's an interesting potential.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Oh, we have a question written down. Are there coursework or is it research driven? Someone want to answer that?
So there's a number of seminars, webinars, so there's definitely coursework, but all the teaching is related to research methods, especially in the first 2 years. And so these are webinars and seminars where you would learn research skills, how to develop a research design, collect data, analyze data, and so on. And you'll be doing your research on the side as well. And now we've introduced in the 3rd year specializations where you can choose between 3 specializations and you'll have specific courses on these specializations where our faculty members will come and share their expertise in these specific topics. So we have a specialization on sustainability, another one on digital
leadership and one on innovation and
and digitalization. Yeah,
that's it.
Exciting. All right. Last chance for any questions. All right. Well, thank you so much to our students for joining us today and sharing their experience. We really appreciate it, and it's such a pleasure to see how your research is evolving even before you have that piece of paper in-house. So thank you very much for joining us. And if anyone has any other questions about the application process or about the program, please feel free to send us an email and we'll be more than happy to meet with you. So thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you for organizing, Jeannie.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.